Children who are in America, Europe, just about to receive fire. Nebana aletendo nyinga kishobora kuzikisa. Chibuyaga ngaswana kana osanga akana kalinga ema. Ngatikali hebe bulungi. Ngetatwala mbako nabagenda bagambe Yesu uya akomawo nenga manifestation. Epewe kusitude. Okene mwe mbonge and naye winds. Amba zita tsunami.
In LA, 4 massive wildfires continue to spread in the suburbs of Los Angeles, and more fires are still popping up. The latest has broken out in the Hollywood Hills. It is burning in the area between Runyon Canyon and Wattles Park and has triggered more mandatory evacuations. More than 137,000 people have been forced to evacuate. Officials say, despite best efforts, the fires are 0% contained due to the strong winds and shortage of water. Now for the latest, let's speak to CBS reporter Ashley Sharp. Ashley, thanks for joining us. What more can you tell us about the fires that continue to rage across Los Angeles?
Hi, Steve. Well, of those major fires that are burning here across Los Angeles, I'm covering the Eaton fire currently. We're in Altadena, California, just outside of LA. The Eaton fire is the second largest in size, but has proven the most fatal. We've reported 5 fatalities so far that the Eaton fire has been responsible for. And right now that firefight is active around me. You're seeing a spot fire behind me where a structure has burned to the ground. And just up the hill from where I'm standing, dozens of fire trucks and crews are actively fighting the Eaton fire up on the hill. You'll hear off and on fire alarms that are sounding around me as well, and smoke has filled the air. What I can tell you, Steve, is the difference is the wind. What were hurricane force gusts yesterday have calmed, which is a help to those fire crews tonight.
And speaking of those fire crews, Ashley, how have they been coping? They've been on the move and fighting these fires for well over a day now.
Steve, they're exhausted. We're standing right across from a fire hydrant where those crews have been coming down the hill, filling up with water and going right back up. It's an all hands on deck situation. Crews from across the state, from Northern California, where we are very familiar with fighting wildland fire. Crews have made their way down south. So it's an all hands on deck situation. And as you can imagine, too, the emotional weight of seeing a lot of what they're seeing. You're seeing families flee their homes with their pets in their arms. You're seeing people having to watch their homes burn to the ground all across Los Angeles County. It weighs heavily on these firefighters, and they too know that they have such an important job to do in getting these very, very dangerous fires contained that right now are sitting at 0% containment.
And tell us a bit about those people that have been leaving their homes, how the evacuations have been going. I understand there was some reluctance from some residents in Los Angeles yesterday to evacuate as they were being
The evacuation orders have continued tonight. I mean, tens of thousands of people under evacuation order, and Los Angeles's mayor warning tonight that there could be more evacuation orders coming through the night and into the morning. So if you're living in this Los Angeles area, you're glued to your phone. You're glued to information about where this fire is moving and where in turn you need to move. You asked about people who have evacuated. We showed images from CBS last night of seniors who had been evacuated from a senior center. They were sitting outside on their hospital beds in wheelchairs with only masks to help protect themselves as flames surrounded their senior center. We did get to stop by the Pasadena Convention Center earlier today where some of those seniors were taken. That's the question, right? When you evacuate people from places like this, from places like hospitals, where do you take them? Regional transit buses showed up and they got those seniors to places like the Pasadena Convention Center, where right now it's a waiting game as to what comes next.
Yeah, and speaking of what comes next, you mentioned earlier about how the wind was not as strong as it was yesterday. That is a key component here for how firefighters are able to battle this blaze. Is there any confidence that the wind will not pick up again?
For perspective, I could tell you this, Steve. Yesterday, I could not be standing safely where I am right now because that wind would carry this small fire right here. The embers would catch and the brush surrounding me would be just a nearly certain risk that it would catch on fire. So we have a bit more confidence today. And, you know, most of these fires, yes, they are moving, but you can see, you know, my hair is not moving. Much behind me is not moving. So we're a bit more confident. You know, it's just a bit safer in this scenario now. Of course, we always have our eyes on our backs in a scenario like this. But when you talk about those winds tonight, calm, but we could see gusts returning tomorrow. That's what people are going to be watching for. But hopefully we're not going to see the hurricane force winds that were topping near 100 miles per hour in some instances here across Los Angeles.
A huge wildfire is burning through thousands of acres in California, with tens of thousands of people evacuated from their homes. This is the scene live in Pacific Palisades, a neighborhood in the hills near Santa Monica in Los Angeles, where we've seen pictures of burning cars, destroyed buildings as the fire swept through. Local firefighters say the conditions are as bad as they get, with gusts of winds of up to more than 100 kilometers per hour, fanning the flames from 10 acres to almost 3,000 in a matter of hours. The White House says President Biden is being briefed on the situation, whilst the governor of California has warned fires there no longer are seasonal, but a year-round threat. With more, here's our LA correspondent, Emma Vardy.
The fire exploded at astonishing speed. The combination of dry conditions and strong winds causing the fire's rapid spread. People evacuating began to leave their cars and escape on foot. Emergency services eventually bulldozed some 200 abandoned vehicles to clear the roads. The Pacific Palisades area is home to luxury properties and celebrity homes. At least 30,000 residents were told to leave.
My heart is in my throat, but we're okay as long as the firefighters said there's a ambulance to take us out. But this is like right at my doorstep.
We've been watching these huge plumes of smoke rising and the flames flickering over the mountains behind us. Now, people in California are used to wildfires and strong winds at this time of year, but this one is more unusual because of how quickly it spread and the fact it's so close to a densely populated area. Thousands of buildings were in danger of being engulfed by flames as emergency services tried to keep people safe. It's not yet clear how widespread the damage is to properties, but some homes have been destroyed and several other fires have also been burning. While the strong winds continue, there's warnings across California that more wildfires may start. Emma Vardy, BBC News, Los Angeles.
And this here is live film footage we're receiving right now here at BBC News from Altadena, which is in Los Angeles. You can see there a building on fire. Firefighters are just outside of this shot where they're trying to get control. It gives you a sense of the scale of this and the ferocity of the flames as firefighters desperately try to bring an end to these wildfires, which are just raging through the whole of Los Angeles at the moment. I talked to David Latt. He was forced to evacuate his home. He lives in Pacific Palisades. He told us what happened to him.
This morning early, my wife and I were very unaware of what was happening, and a neighbor called and said, "Get out." This was about 10 a.m. And I went outside and saw what he was reacting to, which was a huge plume of black smoke about 4 blocks away from our house. I took out a ladder and I went up on the roof because I saw that there was fallen leaves and other debris, and I wanted to make sure that the fire, if it spread in our direction, didn't have combustibles on the roof. So I quickly swept that off. And then over the next 30 to 40 minutes, I watched as the fire got larger and moved in our direction. And as your reporter indicated, the problem here is extreme wind coupled with no rain for half a year. So the conditions are primed for a very difficult situation. We were ordered to evacuate, and the communication was extremely good. We received texts, messages saying you must evacuate immediately. And I have to say, our mayor, Karen Bass, had prepared for the situation by assembling material and personnel. So they were in the area, so the response was very quick. And even as I was watching in some video that I shot, you can see first observational helicopters analyzing the area from the air, or the situation from the air. And then you saw, I think they're called super scoopers, fixed wing airplanes that go close to the surface of the ocean, pick up water, and then drop it along with fire retardants to slow down the fire. So the attack by the city officials was very aggressive. The problem was, and continues to be, the wind. And again, as your reporter mentioned, the concern now is what's going to happen tonight, where the expectation is not hurricane force, but extremely high winds. And even though the personnel have been very aggressive in putting out the fires they can find, with the wind, it's very hard to know where the fires are going to be as they're spread. Embers are picked up, and they can go across the street or a mile away. So all of LA is on alert. You hear sirens, excuse me, and you can tell there's a lot of smoke in the air. But we're happily safe at a friend's house in the middle of LA, an area called Larchmont. The problem in Pacific Palisades is that it's a relatively isolated area with just one road in and out. So the traffic jam, it took us 2 hours to get out of the area.
And while you were speaking there, David, we were looking at the videos that you've sent us that you shot before you left your home. Just talk us through what goes through your mind when you know you've got to evacuate your home, you don't know what you will return to. I mean, what do you grab? And what's the pressure, the time pressure? I assume you really had to act quickly.
Yeah, you really, well, first of all, I'm a native Los Angelian. This, like earthquakes, is just a natural fact of living in the area. You're taught over and over again to have what they call a grab and go box, which means with your passport, tax records as you're preparing your tax returns, especially prized videos or still photographs and albums. So we already had part of that packed. We were also ready to go out of town. So we actually had suitcases packed with clothing, so we just knew to grab those. But you're right. The hard thing is we have paintings, some done by my wife's father, who's no longer with us. They're wonderful, but they're large, some of them, and by other artists, which we've collected over the years. And we knew we had to walk away from them. And that's hard. I mean, it's just hard to do.
So that there was David Latt, who I spoke to earlier, who lives in Pacific Palisades. And these pictures we're receiving now are the area, Pacific Palisades, which is the area where he lives, where everyone has been ordered to evacuate their homes because, of course, it's extremely dangerous, as you can see here. 30,000 people are under evacuation orders at the moment across the state of Los Angeles, which has declared a state of emergency as the wildfires spread rapidly. The winds that are sort of extremely high and the dry lands, as we were hearing from our correspondent Emma Vardy earlier, making it very, very difficult to bring this under control. Millions of people in California across the state are under a red flag warning, meaning there is an extreme fire danger. We've got a live page up and running at the moment on our website and on the BBC News app, which is following all our coverage and all the updates as they happen. So do stay with us here on BBC News as we keep you across this developing story.
Churches, places of entertainment, clubs, mosques, gatherings. Whatever abasajja abalina oluntuma around bagenda bayingira buli wantu nga baleetesa sakke. Whoever is going to organize anything on that fast is my prayer. If it's a church, give up the security. If it is a gathering in the village, give up the what? The security. Otherwise, the devil is planning to destroy people who are gathered together. It's my prayer. Look and work with security. The leaders must be awake. All things are the jobs of more. What is the time waiting? Oh, see what we all say. Look at the Yabatu. The evildoers, the wrongdoers are ready to disorganize the children of God. They come let the sheep, but when the wolves, they're not saying they will never together in church. But that's what you want later from the beginning. If you're coming to church, don't count too many things.
And we begin this afternoon with breaking developments out of New Orleans. 15 people are dead and at least 35 others are injured after a New Year's Eve attack on Bourbon Street. You're watching 13 News Now at 4. I'm Janet Roach.
And I'm Dana Smith. Police say a driver intentionally drove into a crowd during the New Year celebrations. And we're just learning police are investigating the incident as an act of terrorism. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
New Orleans famed Bourbon Street, now a crime scene as the FBI investigates what they're calling a terror attack on New Year's Day. Federal officials identifying the suspect as 42-year-old Shamsuddin Jabbar, a U.S.-born citizen from Texas. Police say he rammed a rented pickup truck into a crowd of people on Bourbon Street just after 3 a.m., driving 3 blocks before crashing, then getting out and firing at police with an assault rifle. Officials say 2 officers were hurt before police shot and killed the suspect. Witnesses describe the scene as gruesome.
What we saw was insanity. I mean, something out of a movie. The graphic nature of it, and it was unbelievable.
Investigators say they found an ISIS flag, weapons, and improvised explosive devices inside the truck. They're now working to determine whether he had any affiliations with terrorist organizations. The FBI says they also discovered more IEDs planted around the area in the historic French Quarter, some of which were deemed viable, according to sources.
As of now, 2 IEDs have been found and rendered safe.
Police flying drones around the area searching for more potential devices. Because this was a 3-pronged attack, officials say they're working to determine whether the suspect had help.
We do not believe that Jabbar was solely responsible. We're aggressively running down every lead, including those of his known associates.
They're also digging into the suspect's past, the FBI leading the investigation.
They're pulling on every thread to figure out the pattern of life of this individual just prior to this incident, the night before, the day before.
Leading up to the holidays, federal law enforcement had been warning local police around the country that vehicle ramming was a key area of concern and to be prepared for these kinds of incidents. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill. The ISIS flag was found in his vehicle, which he rented to conduct this attack.
I want to say hello and let you know a little bit about me. So I'm born and raised in Beaumont, Texas, and now live in Houston. And I've been here all my life, with the exception of traveling for the military, where I spent 10 years as a human resources specialist and IT specialist, where I learned the meaning of great service and what it means to be responsive and take everything seriously, dotting I's and crossing T's to make sure that things go off without a hitch.
Palaso yasose ngali ku stage ngayimba awo Alien Skin ne group ye naye ne batuuka. Ndowooza Palaso yagenda okuteegera nti Alien Skin ali muki atuuse mu kifo, n'atandika okumusindikira ebigambo nga tebimuwoomera Alien Skin. Abavubuka ba Alien Skin ne bavaayo ne balumba Palaso ku stage. Palaso n'avaayo badde tanaba n'okumala okuyimba kwe. Ye kye yakola kigambibwa nti saa 9 ogw'ekiro yalumba amaka aga Alien Skin esangibwa Makindye, n'atandika okukuba abantu ababaddeyo ne bagenda ate leero kumakya ate ne bakeera ne badumba ki ne babalumba ate maka ga Alien Skin ne batandika okunoona ebintu badala motoka zibadde bbiri amadirisa g'amayumba ag'ennyumba ne bagiyasa ati ye Alien Skin aguddewo omusango Palaso n'abavubuka be omusango ogusooka gwa malicious damage eyokubiri kubanga agamba nti waliwo ebintu byabwe gye babbye omusango okugisa eryanyi oba aggravated robbery. Tugenda kukola okunoonyereza tukakase kiki gye babbye nga fayiro yaffe wedde tugenda kunoonya bana bavubuka tubakwate tubatwale ku mbuga z'amateeka.
Izo empisa ez'okukuleetinga gurupu okwewagira oba okwekuuma si nnungi. Ekiseera kituuse poliisi eteekinga obuvunaanyizibwa okulinda abayimbi abo abalina ebibinja n'okusaanyaawo ebibinja byabwe. Ebibinja ebyo birina okuvaawo, tebiri mu mateeka ate bigenda kubeera byabulabe eri eggwanga. So nsaba Ssaabaduumizi wa poliisi nga mpita mu minisita wa internal affairs okumakinga sure nti abo be bayita bakomando ba Alien Skin abakoze obuvuyo bakwatibwa ne bakomando ba Palasa abakoze effujjo ku makya ga leero bakwatibwa wamu n'abantu abakoseddwa baweebwa obujjanjabi. So n'okulaba nti tukisaanyaawo ebyo ebibinja ze tuyita ganga. Then kulwange nga promoter nga sogera nga minisita kati so nkubiriza